Well, hey everybody, I'm the Crockett Cooner, and this is the Crockett Coonhound Show. Here it is, folks, February the 12th, 2025, and it's time for another fireside chats with the old Cooner. If you're new, welcome. If you followed me for quite a long time, thank you. But tonight, guys, I'm going to talk about something. Now, I've mentioned it on other films and things on different platforms for folks that have followed me for quite a while. You might know why we call this particular show the Crockett Coonhound Show, and one segment of it here is the Fireside Chats. But the coonhound part comes from myself being a coon hunter at one time, but also it goes in correlation with the second part, which is the Crockett part. Now, myself and Scooter, neither one of us are Crockett people. That no last name by that name or anything. But we had a political figure many years ago, started part of his career right here where we're located in southern Middle Tennessee, and that is David Crockett. Now, I am talking about the wild frontiersman. I'm talking about the gentleman with the coonskin cap. I'm talking about the gentleman that has on all his buckskin clothes. You know, that killed him a bear when he was only 3, that fellow. And for those of you that don't know, one of the reasons why we named it the Crockett Coonhound Show is because myself and Scooter are pretty passionate when it comes to politics. Matter of fact, we talked about politics today for about 6 hours after a business meeting, and we talked a little business meeting in it. And he was like basically saying, hey man, have you thought about talking any politics here lately? It might be the time. And I'm like, well, you know, I believe you're right. So tonight, guys, out here at the old Fireside Chat, that's what we're going to talk about. Just kind of what's going on in the world a little bit, right? And some of the viewpoints that people have, and myself, and a little bit about, because Scooter's not here to speak for himself though on this one, but I know some of his views on things, what we see, and kind of why we do what we do here at the Crockett Coonhound Show. Now, if you don't know about David Crockett, let me tell you guys. In his day and time, we had the Native Americans, that would be the Cherokee Indians, that were leaving on the Trail of Tears, that were being run off of their homelands there over in the eastern part of the United States. And basically Crockett, he started off in a time where he was an indentured servant, meaning that his father owed money on property and things, and they sent David Crockett down there to pay off the bill. His dad was like, well, you're gonna work for me. And he did a few things. He was known for his tall tales and a real southern kind of guy. That's one of the things us folks here in the South like to do, is talk a lot. And he also, you know, went out west and things. But when he transitioned from eastern Tennessee, I don't know why I'm stuck on the northern part tonight, guys, over to Middle Tennessee, in our particular county where we're located, guys, he was in fact like the mayor, these types of things. He owned property. And a little nifty side note, I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this to Scooter, and I don't know how true this one is, guys, but somewhere in one of my family records, apparently somebody that was one of my great, probably about 5th back, grandfathers or uncles, apparently was his neighbor. He lived across the road. And if you happen to know where Giles County, Tennessee is, he started there for a little bit, then came over here to Lawrence where we're at. But later on, after all of his local political things, that's when, you know, he went on up to be in the House of Representatives and things. He got more into like federal types of politics, and then went to the Alamo, where sadly he passed away. But now, what does that have to do kind of what's going on right now in the world? Well, recently, I think a lot of folks that follow me, you guys have seen all the stuff, just like myself and Scooter, that's going on. We definitely have President Trump and Elon Musk. All right. And a lot of other things that are going on. Mr. Kennedy, a bunch of different things going on throughout the government. Now, folks, many times people ask me, kind of what are my political views? Well, here's what I personally believe. At one time, I'd have said I was a Democrat. Well, am I still a Democrat? Yeah, somewhat. I got some liberal views. But then again, on the other side, I would say it's because I'm a Southern person. It's kind of my viewpoints. That has a little to do with it. I've got some pretty conservative views also. So, see as how I am posting this up here on YouTube, and you can kind of openly talk about certain things. I'm going to talk a little both sides of the road. So, right now, as we speak, I did in fact see a thing that said that the auditing was beginning for the Pentagon. And some of the overspending that had been found with these like tremendous numbers, I want to say it was something like $100,000 on soap dispensers. Is that maybe what I heard? Somebody'd have to correct me down there in the comments if I'm off a little. Just this tremendous amount of spending. And if you were like a MAGA supporter or you were a big Trump supporter, you're definitely going, well, yeah, hey, man, if they've been spending money on this stuff, our guy's there, he's fixing stuff. Okay. Then you look on the other side, people that are more Democratic there, Democrats, more, liberal type of viewpoint, and they're saying, well, I don't like what's going on. He's, signing so many different things and laws, and he's getting rid of this, getting rid of that, and we think that he's trying to just bombard the system to throw everybody off. And then we talked about all the tariffs and things, and, some people, we've seen how it's worked. They've brought troops up from Mexico to the border, also then toward Canada. Now, here's something that's quite interesting. Not everyone by any means, this is kind of a generalization that I'm making, but if you follow a lot of different platforms on the internet, there are quite a few folks in Canada, guys, and they're pretty good people, but they are worried that we are in fact going to invade them, basically start a war. That's what they're worried about. Now, at one time, guys, if you would have said, hey, Cooner, what do you think about that? I'd say, we're not going to get in no fight with Canada. But myself and Scooter both believe that could be a thing. Could be a possibility because, I think both of us are not quick to jump on the bandwagon. We hear what everybody's saying. But, I'll just tell you guys, Scooter doesn't care much for President Trump. It just was not his man. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I see what everybody's saying, but I don't know. I don't know if I like him that much or not. Now, if the man produces these major results, I might feel a little differently about it. But, I don't think he's going to be like Crockett was. I don't think we're going to see him running around, in buckskins and things. I know that there seems to be that kind of appeal, this man that's going to take charge, and it does appear that quite a few things are going on. But my question is, because I want to be very specific on things, folks, I've heard it tossed around that, all of us as taxpayers, we've paid for all these outlandish amounts of things. The quack and duck fund and the squirrel fund and all this. Now, that might sound strange coming from an outdoorsman, but seemed a bit much to me, seemed a bit ridiculous to me in a way. But there is this thing going around. I've heard it on many different platforms. Well, we're going to get money back, talking about all of us. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you. Myself and Scooter both are in agreement on this one. We don't think we're going to get anything back. Now, I know a lot of people don't share my view on that. Let's face it, the almighty dollar, that's what everybody wants, especially us folks that are in the Gen X club, that are old enough to remember a time when you kind of had $100 bill. You really had something, didn't you, folks? You could you could buy a little something with it. You know, for outdoors people, you know, you could pick up some pretty nice things for $100, but this doesn't go as far as what it used to. And everybody seems to be in this revolving door of get up, go to work, repeat, and nobody seems to be going ahead. And of course, as we all know, that's supposedly what the Trump administration is going to fix. I hope. That is a beautiful thought. But I have to agree with something Scooter said this morning, and I agree on it too. Generally, people are a bit lazy. I mean, myself, you, all of us, a bit lazy. I mean, you know, and let's face it, with AI, the things that are coming in, guys, you know, that's going to change the face of how we work a little bit. Who knows how long it'll be before that system gets completely implanted. And I'm talking about robot technology, AI is running everything for us. I'm sure there'll be bugs to iron out. But to answer a question for a lot of you folks, why do we do what we do here at the Crockett Coonhound Show? Why do you see me talking about gardening so much? Why do you see me talking about living off the land, and a lot of other people throughout the old internet? Why do we talk about this? Well, I'm going to give you a prime example. The other day, I saw a video clip of President Trump getting on like one of the presidential flights, and they stopped and they interviewed him, and he said that the American people would feel a bit of a pinch. Now he's talking about in the old hip pocket, you know, with their money. My question, and I think Scooter's question, how much of a pinch are we talking here, folks? You know, if you say that real quick, that's like saying you're swimming with piranhas and you felt a bit of a pinch. Yeah, well, I don't really want to be pinched anymore, but I understand that sometimes it might get a bit worse before it gets better. But that's my question. How long of a pinch are we talking here, guys? Are we talking going to send us into just a little bit of recession more than what we're in right now? You know, it might last just till this summer's over. Or are we talking something that's going to last years to come and going to be so bad that it will make the Depressionary era back in the day look like a cakewalk? And if that happens to be the case, folks, not everyone in this day and time in 2025 knows how to do some of the things that we do here at the Crockett Coonhound Show. Now, for some of you, it's very simple. We have a ton of folks that follow us that are already gardeners, already homesteaders, do all these things. We also have other websites. I know a lot of you folks follow us on all those platforms, such as our Amish of Etheridge page. Well, let's talk about that for just 1 second here. What do the Amish folks not need? You guys ever think about that? Now, I'm talking the old school Schwarzenegger Amish, like what we have where we live. They don't really need a lot of outside help, if you ever think about it. If it comes to building a house, well, they all just load in over there and they help each other. If it comes to clearing out some property, they load in over there, they help each other. They might clear out 5 acres in a day or two. Well, at the same point in time, you know, it's a give and get process. One of the guys helping clean out that property might end up needing help building a barn. No, they go over there and help. And then I'm not saying they don't help each other with money and things and all that, but generally they live in a community where they help each other out. They take the information they know, they share it. They also do things like have larger families, and you know, they set up businesses and things, sawmills, those types of things. And then many times if they have sons or they have son-in-laws, they end up running that business, they keep it going. That type of deal, you know. And the whole time, as they look crazy to all of us, they're riding around in a horse and a buggy and these types of things, and they're saying, you know, we don't really need to do whatever. We want to focus. They want to keep their head down to the grindstone, focus on what they're doing. And in my opinion, in Scooter's opinion, there's a ton of folks right now that love gardening, you know. And if you ask them about it, kind of pick their brain a little bit, that's a good example. You say, well, how long's it been since you've grown a garden? Well, you know, I helped my grandmother and my grandfather back 40 years ago. Huh. Well, that's true, but we do have some climate change. And I think folks are experiencing that, and there's that theory out there, well, all this is being manipulated, talking about the weather and things. Well, I don't know. Could it be? I believe we got some pretty smart folks in the world. That's a possibility. But is it being? No, I don't think so. I personally don't think so, folks. But I think it might be because, for those of you that are old enough to remember, years ago they talked about recycling, they talked about greenhouse gases. We have folks that follow this, keep up with this every day, been doing it for years, and they're all kind of saying, we've kind of hurt the planet a bit. And there's a theory that would go right along here with the Crockett Coonhound Show, that if something ever went awry, went bad here in the United States, that there's many folks just going to run to the woods. Well, hey, there'll probably be some people that do. But what about the folks that say, that's what I'm going to do, but they don't know anything about the outdoors, they don't know anything about the woods, they don't know anything about some of the topics that we've talked about here on the Crockett Coonhound Show, such as white-tailed deer having chronic wasting disease, having blue tongue disease. You can look at pictures of this on the internet. Heck, the old cooner here, I got a great story about how we decided to go coon hunting one night and found a beautiful 6-point buck laying on his all fours in the middle of a creek, panting, middle of the summertime. He's sucking down water. We went back 24 hours later, myself and some other gentlemen. I told one guy that was with me he was going to reach over there and touch him. I said, I don't think I'd touch him, man. He looks sick. And 24 hours later, we found him in that creek, guys, laying in an ice cold creek, even though it was warm weather. He drank so much water there, he was swelled out. You'd have thought he would have popped like a balloon. And it's obvious that he was sick with something. So, this theory of, well, we're going to run to the woods, I'm not saying it's incorrect, but I'm saying you got to look at the mass number of people here in America that are going to run to the woods, not to mention the folks that own the property. I think if they were kind of saying, I have 100 acres back here and I've tried to manage it for deer, I've tried to manage it for this or that, and they might take a little bit of offense to somebody coming over on their property. And usually folks like that many times have a very conservative mindset, and they usually support firearms. So that might not be as big of an option as what folks would think. So growing your own vegetables and things might be a deal. Now here's another topic. I haven't mentioned a lot of it. Scooter's mentioned some on other pages, but it would be chickens. Now we all know that there's influenza going around right now. There's a whole big talk about bird flu, those types of things. There's a talk about bird flu that apparently animals could catch. That would be your dogs and cats, from this. And supposedly there's been steps taken that's supposed to clear this bird flu and stuff up. Well, there's many folks among us that believe that the whole thing is just a hoax. It's a setup to run the prices up. There's many folks that believe that it's a true thing, but it was put there on purpose to lessen the number of the people, so to speak. Well, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I believe it is a real thing. I think you can go look it up. For whatever reason, it's become a bit of an issue. Maybe not at a good time. But I do believe, guys, that, it could be something that everybody that does, in fact, keep some type of bird like that, any type of chicken, even if it's a small backyard coop, definitely needs to kind of keep in mind. Now, that doesn't mean run around like a chicken with your head cut off, but it does mean just keep it in mind and always have a plan A and a plan B. What are you going to do? Because back to what I was saying a little earlier with President Trump and the whole, there's going to be a pinch to the American people, the economy. How long is that pinch going to last? Is it just going to be a month or two? Or is this going to be a 3 or 4 year thing? If you look around, it seems that a lot of things like pharmacies are closing. It seems that there's a lot of government systems that have been put in place, whether you agree or disagree with it, but they're going away. So the folks that were dependent on them, everybody says, well, you're going to have to go out and get a job. Yeah. And I think a lot of those people would. But the thing is we're living in a day and time where they're already telling us about AI. And it's obvious that some of those like factory types of jobs, they're wanting to replace with robots. But let's think about it. Scooter made a great point this morning. They're just not going to replace your plumber with one of them. It's just not going to happen. We're going to have people that are doing that. So I've heard some other folks say that in the future there's fixing to be a whole lot of entrepreneurial, you guys know what I mean, entrepreneurial, that's twice, guys. Anyways, folks will be able to start their own business, and there's going to be some abilities to get some loans and things like never before. Well, now, I hope that does work out. But, guys, that's just it. I've heard many different theories that come from both sides, but myself, I'm not agreeing with some things that's going on now. I'm not. I understand going in there and making a change, don't get me wrong. I definitely understand business moves. A lot of folks don't know this about the old Cooner here. I'm about 6 classes away from a PhD in business science. You'd look at me and Scooter and you wouldn't think that. You mean the guy that's out building a boat trailer and messing with hunting dogs? Yeah, I could write you a whole little dissertation on inflation, and at the end of the day, I believe it's something that we can all help. I understand the process by how it works, guys, but I also believe that it's the folks at the top that are setting the prices, and that's a whole different talk. Why are they setting the prices where they do? But I believe it can all be helped. And I know that myself and Scooter both believe that in the future, there's going to have to be a lot more helping. Well, how's one way that we can help? The beautiful thing about the internet, guys, is if you don't know how to, for instance, save space growing a garden, you can meet a fellow like me that online that can teach you how to grow vertical squash. Save a little space in the garden and still have something to eat, because whether you like vegetables or not, if you get hungry enough, anything's pretty good, if you can possibly get it down. But, I don't want to talk the gloom and doom things, guys, but when it comes to the political thing, myself and Scooter both are thinking that the outcome of what we're seeing has supposedly been told to all of us that it's supposed to be good. But we don't think it's going to be as good as what they say. I don't know. Hopefully, it would be nice, maybe in a way. I'd love to say, hey, I was wrong on that one. But I don't think it's going to be, guys. And if you do, in fact, listen to some folks from around the world, different individual people all over the world, you'll start finding out that a lot of places that politically in the past that were our allies, well, the general population of the people there, they're getting a bit upset. They're thinking that we're bullying everybody. Well, we might be a little bit. That's kind of how politics seems to work sometimes. But it seems that many times we're, getting something started up that I think, in my personal opinion, we're kind of crapping on our buddies, and I don't think we need to do that. And I'm talking about other, continents and things, and in other countries. I don't think some of them we need to mess with that much, because I've said it before, guys. I am definitely not a supporter of any type of conflict breaking out here amongst the American people. I don't think, for whatever reason. There's always going to be little arguments and things. I understand that. But for the general person, I hope we just don't have to experience that. But, you know, it ought to be interesting to see what's happening, guys, what's coming in the future from what's being done and things. You know, like I said, myself and Scooter, we both see the same things you guys do. We're seeing both sides of the coin. It kind of depends on what camp that you're in. And I hear everything that's going on right now. And at first glance, it does seem good. But I just don't buy it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a bit more over in this camp where it's like, I don't quite agree with what all's going on. And, you know, people want to get into like talking about values of this and values of that. And then we get into like the different things, you know, the lesbian communities, the gay communities, the transgender community, and all of that type of thing. Well, folks, I believe anything can spiral out of control, that's for sure. But I really, you know, don't think we ought to mess with anybody. But there's always been the rebuttal, you know, they're kind of like a debate, and they're always like, well, we don't like it if somebody is this, or this, they'll be in the wrong bathroom. Well, you know, it seems that they always say, well, because there'll be some kids in there. Well, I think we all ought to back up and take a look. And that doesn't matter what community you're in, if you're in straight, lesbian, gay, whatever. I think that everybody from those communities that are normal people can agree that that's a whole totally different issue when you say there's a child in there and somebody is perving on them. It's a whole totally different issue. That's not grown adults. That's a child, and when you start talking about picking on them, people start losing their cool. I don't care what community you associate with, and I see why they do, and I too lose my cool on that one. But I just wanted to stop, guys, because, you know, Scooter said something this morning that's quite interesting. He said, you know, we've all heard about President Trump. We see what's going on, those types of things, but do we think that, you know, and this is what he told me, do we think that he'll be the next David Crockett, for instance? He's going to be the next guy that's going to go up there and chisel it out. Well, it seems that he started, but then we go a little further in that conversation, and we understand that Doge is going around and auditing things. All right. You know, definitely don't want to spend money where we don't need to, but with these tariffs and things, myself and Scooter both, we just don't really think that's the way we should have gone about doing that to some of the other countries. You know, Australia has even got on board, and if you look back, they've helped us quite a bit in the past, and we've helped them. We buy a ton of commodities and things from them. You know, and I know that goes along with the Gonna Make America Great theory again, and that's something that we studied one time in school. You know, for all these companies, now I'm not talking billionaire companies, I'm talking smaller companies that do have enough resources to you know, bring what they've outsourced back to America. The question is, what's it going to take for them to, for instance, set up a company, another side, you know, building there to start producing, say, mufflers for cars? Because it seems that some of the businesses that are being left, like Walmart, these types of things, I don't really want to call them all out, but a few of those, we can kind of look, it seems that, you know, they're the major players in the game, and that, you know, your mom and pops types of stores, any of them that are left are definitely going away. So, you know, that's kind of been my thinking in this whole time. That's one reason I stopped to make this video. How big a pinch are we talking, and how much more can the American person, no matter what your political belief is, how much more can we all take of it? And if it does in fact get to a time to where we're all going to have to be more resourceful, it's going to have to be help your neighbor a bit more. It's going to have to be people hang clothes out on the line again to dry. It's going to have to be, might want to plant a few extra garden plants there to help with the bills, you know, as far as food goes. How long is that going to last, you know, before we feel a great change and go back to this proverbial good old day that it seems that a lot of people are talking about. So, but anyways, guys, there's a little bit of somewhat of a political talk from both sides, a little bit of a rant from both sides, and kind of what the old cooner here thinks on the whole subject. But anyways, guys, I say it all the time, definitely stay safe on the water, stay safe in the woods, and stay tuned here at the Crockett Coonhound Show. And myself and Scooter will have you guys another video dropping shortly. You guys have a great day.